Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another Talk About It Tuesday. I'm Alexis.
And this is Robert Reed.
And today we have a very special guest. We have Officer Spann from the city of Flint.
Hello, everyone.
Thanks for joining us.
Absolutely.
Thank you for having me.
Awesome. So I'm excited. We're going to be talking about some exciting things here with the Flint ReCAST. Resiliency in Communities After Stress and Trauma aims to assist high-risk youth and families by supporting the recovery and rebuilding of Flint's vibrant community. In short, we look to cultivate change, work with partners to collaborate, reshape the narrative surrounding Flint. And, that means we want to improve behavioral health, empower community residents, reduction in trauma, and sustain community change. And so I can't think of anybody better than Officer Spann to talk about what's happening out here on these Flint streets. So welcome. So definitely tell us a little bit about, the work you do. I know that you were with Flint Police.
Correct. Yes,
How'd you get there?
Well, long story short, there was a lot of civil unrest going on. It was right around actually the time of the George Floyd incident. And during that time, I unfortunately also lost my father. And one of the things that happened is that at my father's funeral, during the time that you allow people to stand up and have a few minutes to kind of give say a little something about the deceased, I was able to kind of hear a different aspect of how he touched others' lives, right? So I knew him as my father, but I did not know the impact that he had on others, whether it be coworkers, students, kids that had played sports for him, or even just people in the community. And so as I'm sitting there listening to folks talk, it went through my mind that, first of all, both of my parents, real big community people. They were both educators. So there was always a sense of, hey, no matter what you do in life, community is very important. No matter where you go, you always need to have a portion that you're giving back to the community, and more so time, right, if possible. Obviously, financially, that always helps, but their big thing was get in there and be a part of what's going on. So, again, that's kind of going through my mind as I'm listening. And, again, at that time, you have the George Floyd incident going on, which obviously was huge. Yeah. And I think at that time there was already somewhat of a separation, so to speak, between the community and law enforcement. And that kind of kicked things wide open, right? Yeah. So it just came in my head, what better way to be a part of change and to get involved in the community than to become a police officer. And more so a police officer in the city of Flint.
Wow. Now, we talked a little bit earlier. You were already involved because prior to that, I believe you were working as a teacher?
Correct. Yes. So I taught for 2.5 years at a charter school. Prior to that, after teaching, I actually went into, I worked as a strength and conditioning coach and trainer.
Okay.
But again, when you look at that aspect of the community, right? So I was around.
That's awesome. So I know that we've had a very, very, very busy summer. A lot of things going on. We've had a couple people talk about some of the youth and the activities and the violence, and we're like, we got to figure out what we're going to do. We've had Latrice Brown, who works on the community violence intervention and prevention with the city of Flint. And really just would love to get your perspective on what you're seeing out there and, what we can do to kind of curtail some of the violence that's been going on.
So I think right now what's happening is, you're seeing it's kind of new for us because not from the violence aspect, but in terms of how young we're seeing some of the actors now that are being involved in this. And I think a lot of it, and it's kind of cliche, but it comes down to the home and the environment that a lot of the kids are coming up in. And to say that, not to say that, parents aren't attempting to parent and that they're bad parents, but just I think with the way things are now, there are so many households where parents got to work, parents got to provide, and so unfortunately, sometimes the kids are kind of left to kind of fend for themselves and figure things out, right?
I'm part of the latchkey generation. You know?
Okay, so there you go.
After school, I'm going home. Don't let nobody in. Here's the key. And
Exactly.
don't answer the phone. Don't answer the door.
Exactly.
I guess I am too. I never realized it. Yeah, latchkey kid.
So, and I think just kind of with the shift in society, I think back in the day, there was a bigger sense of community. So if I'm outside acting a fool and Miss Johnson sees me acting a fool, Miss Johnson gonna get me together. And then when she tell my mama go get me together.
That's right.
And then when my mama talked to my daddy go right.
That's right.
It was this, like they talk about, it was truly like a village, right, in that community. And I think, unfortunately, now you don't see a whole lot of that.
Yeah.
And so again, when you talk about just kind of the environment that some of these kids are in, I think also, unfortunately, the influence that outside external forces do have on these kids. Right? So one of the things I always talk about, when I talk to kids and, they talk about how old I am, but I'm like, when I was growing up, we didn't have social media.
Right. No, facts.
So we didn't have all of these things that it was like, oh, I got to be like this person and I got to be like that person. Oh, and that person's already doing this. So that means I got to do this. Or if I want to be cool, and this is the group that I need to, to hang with or to be with. And there are a number of things, you could look at the music, and not that there hasn't always been music that promoted violence and gang culture, but I think now more so it's been more accepted readily into the mainstream. Right?
Okay.
Like you can listen to a Taco Bell commercial and it might only be the beat, but if you know the lyrics, you're like, whoa, this song is definitely not appropriate. But again, and so unfortunately, kids are listening to it. They want to mimic that life. Another thing that we're seeing right now is you're seeing kind of a resurgence in terms of the gang culture.
Really?
Yeah. And so I think when you look at that, you have to, so for a young man or young woman to decide that they want to be a part of a gang, what that tells you is that there was something missing.
Absolutely.
Right? And whether or not, and again, I'm not going to get into criticizing parenting or anything like that, but whether it be something that's missing in their household, something that's missing in their personal life in terms of their spirituality or other relationships, right? But there's something missing.
Yeah.
And so they want to go where they feel like they're being accepted.
That's the key point. Everybody wants to be accepted. You don't know where you fit in. And then you got these drivers with social media. Again, we didn't have that. That definitely plays into it. And them being younger, not really understanding the significance of the choices that they make every single day. How many of, with the resurgence of the gang culture, would you say they understand really where the origination of the gangs came from? Because I think for me, I actually lived in South Central Los Angeles in the late 80s. It was actually 88.
Okay.
So, I've lived around a lot of gang. Matter of fact, right across the street, the gang leader was right there, rolling 60s. Yeah, Hoover rolling 60s. So I'm intimately familiar with it. I was never involved in a gang. But even the start of why gangs started and that influence, can you talk a little bit about that?
So I don't think that, to answer your question, the initial question of, is there an understanding? No.
Okay.
No. I don't think that there's any type of, one of the things that comes up sometimes when I have this conversation is that, albeit that it was violence, there was somewhat of a code.
Yeah. Yep.
There were certain things that, okay,
certain people off limits.
Yep. You don't do this. You don't cross this line. You don't handle these things like that. And what we're seeing is there's
no code.
No. So I wouldn't say that there's any connection to the old school.
Yeah.
When you talk about how gangs originated and where all of that it came from, I wouldn't say that that's connected to what's going on now. I would say a lot of what we're seeing now, and you can expand it even outside of gang culture to even when we go to deal with domestics that have to do with some form of physical violence, is that you're seeing a lot of folks who are acting out of emotions.
Yeah.
And so looking at that, you talk about, so there's that emotional maturity level is not there, right?
Okay.
Or we call it emotional intelligence
Yeah.
when we work with the kids. And again, not criticizing anyone, but it's one of those things that we all experience emotions.
Right.
And so either we learn how to deal with them
Right.
and how to understand that I can feel this, but in terms of how I express it,
Right.
right? Or we cannot and
Right.
just go through life, and
Yeah.
someone makes me upset, I decide the best way is for me to
Exactly.
handle that is to punch them in the face or
Yeah.
unfortunately pull out a pistol. And
Yeah.
so
And I know that's modeled, for younger people. I know you were saying the age. I don't know how young is young, but I was just saying it might be important because you started saying you got into law enforcement because of the impact you wanted to make, right?
Correct.
Touch some lives. And then it was around the time of George Floyd. And really gang culture, that's where it came from. It came from a response to violence and hey, we got to protect our community for our own.
Correct.
Because nobody's protecting us. The very ones who are supposed to be protecting us are the ones, coming at us. And so the violence, the gangs were really a formation of, hey, let's protect each other. And it really wasn't the crime element. It was just like, we're going to protect the community.
Correct.
We're going to make sure. And I think that speaks to why there were codes in, hey, if that person's not in the gang, we don't really mess with them. You know what I mean? That type of thing.
Or their mom or their grandma.
Correct.
Or
Yeah, because they didn't make that choice to be jumped in. Right? So, but that's the interesting thing. But definitely being modeled. So I know that you do a lot of work in modeling some alternatives because really what I found is exposure. You got to see something different. And one of the things for me, just looking back over the years, one of the impacts, I'll just say it, of integration was a lot of the professionals who would get up and go to work and come home and live right next to you. When they get up and go to work, sometimes they move out of the community. And so you're left with single family homes. You're left with, like you said, mama got to go and you're left to your own devices, right? And if nobody's there to kind of keep an eye on you and the village is kind of broken up, that's the result of, well, I'm just going to look for success because I'm struggling.
Yeah.
But my man over there, he always got a pocket full of cash. And my man over there with a tool, he always got some respect, and I need some respect, and I need a place to fit in. So what are some of the alternatives, that are out there? Like I know that you're involved with the Athletic League, and you do a lot of other great work as well. So you can talk about some of those.
So to first kind of talk about alternatives in terms of, I guess, when we're looking at, okay, so how do we counteract what you have going on? I think the first thing that has to happen is that there has to be community involvement, right? So it's not enough for the community to be outraged, right?
Okay.
And I'm on social media commenting, oh, this and that, and this is terrible, and what are they doing? And I'm on doing the interviews. That's fine, right? Because again, express what you have going on.
Right.
But I think when we look at solutions, now what are you willing to do beyond that?
Yeah.
The action.
Right? What are you willing to do beyond the criticisms? And so when you talk about PAL, which is the Police Activity and Athletic League, the primary goal is the focus on the juvenile population to help reduce that cycle of crime, violence, right? But I think the bigger part of that is that we want positive interaction with police.
Right.
So kind of how you spoke on too, when you look at going back to initially the whole point of why they started the gangs was, hey, look at all of these things going on. These are folks we're supposed to trust.
Right.
And we feel like we can't trust them, so we need to create something. So rebuilding that.
Right.
So if you only interact with me in crisis situation, right, and you only see me when I'm coming to arrest your uncle, your auntie, or whomever, right? You're going to there's going to be a certain image that you're going to have of me. So we want to create positive interaction. So now you're able to just talk to me and you're able to see me, right? Not just as this person that is law enforcement who I'm going to come and just assert my will on whatever situation, and who doesn't matter who likes it and who doesn't. But
No, you
just
Spann.
yeah, oh,
Like
okay,
I know you
yeah.
by name. I know your face.
Exactly.
You've been around here.
Exactly.
You're familiar.
Exactly. And so then when those times do come, if they come, right?
Yeah.
There's some trust, there's some rapport there.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, that's Spann. Okay. I know he's a good dude. So if he's saying this is how we need to do things, we're going to roll with that because I've interacted with him outside of this. So,
that makes a big difference.
It does. It does. And so one of the things that we actually are doing right now is we do have a mentoring program that we just started. It's kind of like in the pilot phase. We have about 13, 14 kids that we're working with. And kind of going back to talk about how I brought up before that emotional IQ, right? The emotional intelligence. So, and again, just to provide them an area where, for one, they could come feel safe. So I'm there as law enforcement, right?
Okay.
We also have the school social worker is a part of it. And then we have our executive director from the civilian side is also a part of it. And so what happens is that we create this, I don't want to say safe space because I know that's a catchphrase, but a area of transparency, right?
Yeah.
So
we do need safe spaces. Though.
We do.
Let me just say that because when I was in going through school, I went to a predominantly white institution.
Okay.
And we actually co-founded an organization just to have safe space for people that look like me going to the school. And it's amazing how much benefit we got from just knowing that every week I could go to this safe space and I ain't got to put on for nothing. You know what I mean? I could just talk to people who understand the way I talk, where I'm from, and what I may be dealing with, and just express my frustrations and hear their perspectives. They gonna hear me and I can hear them. Safe space. It may be overplayed, but that is so important. So I'm really happy to hear that you're creating these spaces where we could just, hey man, just be real, just show up and really get some support.
That's right. Yeah, and we do have, so there is a curriculum that we use, but we also do allow the students time to just kind of ask questions.
Yeah, that's important.
Right. So, and usually during that time, it's typically something that's going to be law enforcement based, right? And so obviously, I always make the disclaimer, clearly I cannot speak for every single member of law enforcement talk, but I can give them my perspective on things from what I see and from, what my approach is. So again, one of the things that we do, we also, as it says, athletics, right? So we have basketball teams, we have soccer, we have football. So we do have other things available for kids to get involved in, which again, you kind of use sports to open that door. And then as that door opens, it's like, oh, hey, I'm also interacting with the police. And
And sports teach a lot. A couple of weeks ago, we had someone on, and they were just speaking about all the other skills that they gained from sports, like learning resilience and teamwork and all those other great things that go on. So,
right. Yeah. So we have that. Also, one of the big things that we're really proud of that we're doing right now is we are doing a swim program.
oh, wow.
Yes, where kids ages 6, right now we're doing 6 all the way to 16, are able to come and get free swim instruction. And so the thing is that it's not, we're not necessarily saying that we're going to make you a world-class Olympic swimmer, but more importantly, water safety.
Especially around here.
Yes, because unfortunately, I'm going to say over the last 3-4 months, the community has suffered a couple of losses that were due to drowning, right? And so when you look at, again, just having kids be able to have basic water safety. So we started that as a pilot program just to kind of see what the response would be. And we had like an overwhelming response. We ended up with well over 130
that's
kids
awesome.
on the wait list.
Wow.
So again, something else that we're doing. Yeah.
Well, they say, can you swim?
Who?
You. Yeah. If you fell in some water, can you make it? You gonna be all right?
No.
No?
I'm going to just curl up in a ball and sink to the bottom.
No.
Pray.
Open your arms, arch your back, hold your breath, and you'll float. How about you? Where'd you learn to swim?
So let's see.
Don't resist. Just go with it.
I know. I'm trying to remember. I believe it was when I was little. I think my father threw me.
Threw you in, right?
Threw me in the pool.
Yeah.
And it's like, get it going. No, not it. No, but seriously.
But he was there to get you.
No, I actually.
That is a tactic.
Yeah.
That is a tactic. That is.
No, I had swim lessons when I was younger.
Okay.
But I always tell people because even my kids, they always laugh at me because so swimming is never something that I would choose.
Yep.
If you were like, hey, let's go do something,
Right.
man, hang out. I'm not going to be like, yeah, let's go to the pool, bro.
Right.
That's not me.
We get Ashley. I'm just playing. Go ahead.
So my kids always laugh and they're like, we don't think you can swim. And so what I tell them is I'm like, listen, if I ever were to fall in a body of water, I'm going to be fine.
Yeah.
I won't drown. I said, and if one of you were ever unfortunately fall into a body of water and you were panicking, I could save you.
Yeah.
So that's my response.
That's good.
Again, you're not gonna see me trying to qualify.
That's
for the
not
Olympics.
your leisure activity.
No, sir. No, that's not. No, and even if it's a group of people going, I'm probably just gonna put my feet in the water and kick a little bit and sit there. But
No, I get it. I understand. No, that's really, real cool. One of the things I want to touch on, I want to make sure that we mention was the importance of being familiar with the police that's around, right? Your only interaction is when something bad is happening, right?
Correct.
Because I know that we do a lot of training on understanding how to be trauma informed. And I believe that you've gone through some training and you're involved with the crisis intervention team.
Correct.
Could you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So essentially, what it is that we went to a training put on by GHS to basically familiarize you more and to put you in situations where you felt equipped and able to handle different situations that you may encounter. What I tell people is, unfortunately, when you go to the academy, in which that's changing, right? Because I always talk about, police and law enforcement is like anything else that's been around forever. It has to evolve.
Yeah.
Right? And so when you look at policing even 15 years ago, 10 years ago to policing now, there are a lot of things that have changed. And so
big time.
When you talk about responding to calls, a lot of times at the root of everything, there's some type of mental health issue. Well, if you've never been trained to recognize that, right, it's easy to just think, oh, well, this person's resisting, or they're not responding, or they're being rude or disrespectful to me. And I need to be in control of the situation. So one of the cool things about that training is it teaches you to be able to identify some of those things. And it doesn't mean, again, you're not going to necessarily in every moment, because like I always tell people, when you watch a video, you're sitting back, you're watching the replay. When it's happening in real time, we have
adrenaline,
and we have
training.
a split second sometime to make decisions, right? So it doesn't mean that we're gonna, this person is suffering from bipolar disorder, and in a moment assessing. But again, to make us aware of, hey, there may be something else at play here, why this person is not responding to me, or why they're reacting the way that they're reacting. And so we have seen a positive response to it. Actually, there's some law enforcement that actually rides around with social workers.
Wow.
Our department is not quite to that point yet.
Okay.
We're working on that.
That's cool to hear that,
but again, and like I tell people, no, it doesn't mean that you're going to send a social worker in while the police officer sits in the cruiser and tries to let them kumbaya everything. But it just means that, again, understanding that there may be some situations that are, okay, this is not just a cut and dry, this person is breaking the law. Right. There are some other things at play here. And so it may help to have someone there to assist. Yeah. But again, you want to make sure that the situation is safe before you involve someone like that. So,
and we're people first. And when
right.
you can look at a person as a person and an individual, you just don't always see a threat.
Humanize.
And that makes a big difference. You know what I mean? So I'm excited about that.
Yep.
Now, I know that I'm going to share your phone number because you're a community police officer.
I'm fine with that.
You know what I'm
Call 'em at
saying?
any time.
So
What-
we're
hold on,
about making sure that we have access, and you have questions or some suggestions and things. We want to give you a
Yes.
point of contact, give you somebody that can actually. It's not an answering machine. It's not AI. You can speak to a person right directly. So if you don't mind giving your phone number,
Yeah, it's 810-610-3829. And yes, feel free. Folks want to call. Listen, I know that I'm not perfect. I know that I don't have all the answers, right? I'm just a person out here that cares, trying to affect some change. So I am definitely open to if folks call and, hey, I have an idea. Maybe even if you have a skill set,
Yeah.
right? I come across people all the time. You may have a certain skill set and you feel like that would be something that we could benefit from in terms of us helping the community. That's awesome. I just always remind people you will have to go through a background check.
For sure.
That's part of everything, right, that we do nowadays. But
You
definitely,
might get a shirt too.
I mean, yeah, you might even get some some swag.
and you're probably gonna get a text message rather than a phone call anyway nowadays.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, for sure. But I do want to. One of the things that always kind of just saddens me a little bit is when I just see people, make comments like, "Oh, the police don't understand and they don't care," and these blanket statements, right? And so I do want people to know, yeah, reach out, let me know. Now, it doesn't mean that I'm going to necessarily be able to full force 100% enact whatever your suggestion is, right? Put that in the being, but talk to me. I'm always open, to have those conversations.
Yeah.
When people have suggestions, and I can also share my email.
Sure.
It's P as in Paul Spann, SPANN @cityofflint.com. So I know a lot of people also use the email as a means of communication. So again,
Always starts with a conversation.
Yep. For sure.
Conversation there's power in words. There's definitely power in words, and we appreciate you being available. If people want to reach us, you can always reach out, recast@flint.org. Again, I'm going to just give the phone number one more time, 810-610-3829. Get in touch with Officer Spann. He's out there to hear from you, community. We're individuals. We're in this thing together. We can revision a better, more empowered Flint.
Yes.
All right, y'all. We appreciate you. We'll see you on the next episode of Talk About It Tuesday with Flint ReCAST.